inkproducts.com has just released its newest Surecolor P400 CIS Black Tower refill system. Now this is a 2-in-1 type of kit. I'll show you what I mean. You're going to get the black tower. Now we're going to use refillable cartridges, and we turned them into CIS cartridges. So you can buy this whole setup right here. It's all done for you. Put them in. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But some people just want to buy refillables. No problem. But if you buy our refillables, later on, we can sell you this little kit that turns it into an ink refill system, a CIS. So you can continuously feed ink to the cartridges. And the advantage of these cartridges, they hold 14 milliliters of ink. They're easy to prime. If you drop color, they're easy to get the color back from the print head. It has these little removable fill plugs that you can just open up when you're going to do a cleaning, and that lets a little bit more ink in and it gets you going. But that's, I'll explain that in the instructions when we send it to you. But basically, you buy this, you get the hose and everything, and if you notice, let me take this apart right here. I'll pull it up. The hose, and that's called the compression ring. Now that goes right into where the air hole is. See, there's your fill hole. That's the air hole of the cartridge. But that's going to go right down in there, and it's going to seal. So that's how the CIS can draw the ink up into that hole there, which supplies ink to the cartridges. So the cartridges always remain full. Now I want to point something out that's very important about CIS. Now we're using refillable cartridges. Okay? So now you might see a little air right there. That's actually a good thing, because you have ink in the cartridge, you have a little body of air, and then ink in the hose. That's called an air brake. So ink cannot flow backwards. So it's actually a good thing. But now if this was all the way around and all the way down, well then you'd have to prime up the system. But a little bit of air right here, even on a CIS, it's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. Now the black tower has a visual thing in the front, shows you what your ink levels are at. So regardless of what the printer says, you just pay attention to this. Now it's going to come up, it's going to show you cannot recognize the yellow. You'll just unsnap it. Just have to unsnap that yellow or whatever color it is, bring it up just a little bit, push it back down, and that'll reset that color. Really works quite well. By the way, these are all XL cartridges and all XL chips. But let's say you have the hose hooked up and everything, and say, nah, I don't want to do that anymore. Well, you just take the hose out, use the ink that's in the system to fill the cartridges up. So it's a 2-in-1 product. Now I have refillables in it now, as you can see. But when you put the continuous ink system in, you have to take this off. And I'm going to show you in a minute how it has to be done. You've got to know that. That has to come off. Refillables, you don't have to take it off. Okay, now the refillables, and this is American-made ink. This is an exact match to the Epson ink. We showed this ink in Las Vegas at a trade show with this printer right here. So people came up and looked at it, saw the ink, saw how it printed. It prints awesome. Colors are good. Everything is awesome with it. Now this is an 8-color printer on plain, ordinary, inexpensive paper. But I want to show you. I just went over, said print. Now here it comes. Now this is a pigment ink, so it can't fade. Does an excellent job printing your photos or anything. There you go. Plus it's fairly fast. Now let me open this up. Now I'm going to touch the ink light here, and now it's going to move over. Now I can open it up, and there's the refillable cartridges. See, the little air hole is open, the fill hole there. So all we're doing is running hose to that. Okay, now, cannot leave that on because obviously we have to have hose come out. So there's a very easy way of doing it. You take an X-Acto knife, you go in, and because it's thin enough, and you go back and forth with a sharp blade as you work the top. Now you can do either side, this side or that side. So I go right between where the little post is. You'll see that in a minute. So I just keep working it, and then when I keep doing it, I keep picking this top up so it loosens it, then it'll come right off. There. What I'm doing is removing that little pin, and I always save it. Put it on the back. The reason why I do that is if I wanted to put it back on, I use a little instant type of a glue, and I just glue it back in there. Okay, now we're going to set it up for the black tower system. I've already made one up, which is here. I took the cover off. Now you have to reach around the back and unplug the printer. Then we can remove these cartridges, and I'll show you how to install the black tower CIS system. Now remember, I made this out of refillable cartridges. So you have two options. You can do refillables, or you can put a continuous ink system on. And by using refillables, it very rarely drops any color. Using CIS cartridges, sometimes it'll drop color. Because if you bought the system already filled and everything, you got to rock the bottles when you first get them like this. Make sure all the plugs are in, because this way it's going to take any of the air that got in the isobaric chamber. What's nice about it is if you don't want to use the system later on, you can just use the refillable cartridges. Okay, you're going to get the main hose bracket and two more hose clips. Now I'm going to move this out of my way. This way I can slide this whole assembly right on under and bring it out. Now I can come back over here. Now I'll be able to snap the cartridges in, and then we'll put on the hose bracket. Okay, now I got them in. Now I can snap all of them in there. There you go. Now if you don't snap them in, you're going to get cannot recognize. So that locks right in. Now I already had them in the printer, so I know they're good. Now I got to push it all the way over to the right, because it's going to come off to the left like that. Now I'll put the hose bracket, I'll line it up with the way the hose comes off. Peel and stick it just like that. And then we're going to slide the hose. Okay, let me get this correct. Just like that. Peel and stick. And then the hose is going to go into that little bracket on the bottom. And that's going to help guide the hose. Down, I lined it right up. Come on across. And I slid the hose into that bracket. I'll slide it in some more. There. Now I'll come over to the edge here. And I can put one more bracket here and one more on the outside. Then I'll be able to close the lid. Now you want to do hose travel, so we're going to move it back and forth by hand to make sure we have plenty of slack in the hose, or it's not too much slack. Okay, now before I do my hose travel, I gave a little extra room here. You can see I got it like that. It's coming through here. And then I put the other clip right here, and there's one more on the outside. So now let's go and do hose travel. Now if it's too much, you can take it up It's not enough, you can add it out. There, that looks pretty good. See? Now if I had too much slack here, I could take some of that slack out. Okay, that's called hose travel. Let it come back over. And see, now you can close the lid. So you don't have to leave it open. Now I'll go plug it in. But before I do this, very important, I've got to open up the air plugs in every one of the colors. The air has to go in for it to print. Only time you close these when you're filling the bottles. And by the way, when you close them, you open up the big ones, the hole is so large here, you can either pour your ink in there, use a pour top, whatever is convenient for you. I usually use a little plastic cup and I just pour some ink in it, then I put it in. Sits right next to the printer, not higher or lower. Right there, just like that. Okay, now I'll go plug it in. Plugged it in, I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to leave the top up. I want to see if it moves back and forth. Yeah, see, that's going slowly. Now it's going to start to move back and forth. Now when you get yours, you won't get that much extra hose on the outside here. I just put it together real quick. But when you're doing it, you can shape it a little bit closer. So far everything looks good. It's traveling nice. Now, like I said, I've already been using these cartridges, so I don't expect to see any problems. There you go. Now we can close the lid. Okay, I've got the ink light, warning light on. I'm going to press that and then open it up. Let's see which color is giving me the problems. Okay. Now see, I put them in when it wasn't under power, so it's showing all red lights. So I'm going to pick them up, unsnap them, and then put them back in. One at a time. That's how you reset it too. Pick them up, set them in. There we go. Now let's see if the light goes out. Saying you didn't install genuine Epson cartridges. Just proceed. That has to be there because they're not genuine Epson. Photo black is a little low, but I'm not going to worry about it now. Because now that I have the ink tank, all I have to do is worry about that. When it goes down and you get the X, bring it over, lift it up, push it back down, ink level goes back up. So now I just got to do one cleaning and check my nozzles. That photo out again on plain paper.